and welcome to today's class. Today is the 28th of April and this is class number 82. So today we're going to move on a little bit into looking at more complex algebraic fractions. Before we start, let's correct yesterday's homework. So a half plus 2/3. So the lowest common denominator of 2 and 3 is 6. So to get a 6, here we're going to multiply 3 on the top, 3 on the bottom. Here 2 on the top, 2 on the bottom. So when we combine it, we're going to have 6 on the bottom, and then it's going to be 3 plus, didn't mean for this all to be in green. So this is all over 6. It's 3 by 1 is 3, 2 by 2 is 4. No shortcuts. But hopefully you did your steps, and that gives us 7 over 6. So then my lowest common denominator of 4 and 5 is 20. To get that, I'm multiplying top and bottom here by 5, top and bottom here by 4. My lowest common denominator is 20. 5 by 3 is 15, plus 3 by 4 is 12, and that is 27 over 20. Part 3, lowest common denominator. Oh, I don't need lowest common denominator. Wonderful! They're all over 12, so I simply need to add them. So 5 plus 2, 7 plus 1 is 8 over 12. I'm going to simplify that by dividing the top and the bottom by 4, and that gives me 2/3. 7 eighths and 3/4. Lowest common denominator of 8 and 4 is 8. So I simply need to multiply the top and the bottom here by 2. You can multiply the other fraction by 1, but it doesn't matter. 8 on the bottom, so that's 7 minus 6, and that gives us 1/8. Then we got into some algebra fractions. So 2 and 3 is 6, lowest common denominator. Top by 3, bottom by 3, bottom by 2, and this top by 2. So now we're going to combine them, so over 6, and we get 3 by x plus x by 2. Tidy up that numerator, we get 3x plus 2x over 6, and that is 5x over 6. And the last question in part 1, the lowest common denominator of 5 and 3 is 15. Multiply the top by 3, bottom by 3 here, the top by 5, and the bottom by 5. Combine it, lowest common denominator is 15, 3x plus 5x, so it's 8x over 15. Now, at this point, or maybe at some point yesterday in the video, you may have gone and spotted, oh, I see something. I may see a quick way to think about that lowest common denominator. Brilliant if you have. I'll talk about that a little bit more tomorrow's class, or no, Thursday's class. We're going to go into that in a bit more detail. But if you've seen something and you're curious to know if that is actually something or just coincidence, message me and I'll happily answer that. So then question 2, we want to find the lowest common denominator of 4 and 2, and that is not 8, it is 4. Be careful. Nothing needs to happen the first fraction, second fraction by 2. So this is all over 4. So 3x plus 5x by 2, and that is 3x plus 10x all over 4, and that gives us 13x over 4. No need to change it into a mix. We would never do that when we're talking about algebra fractions. So here let's find the lowest common denominator of 5 and 3, and that is 15. So multiply the top and the bottom here by 3, and the top and the bottom here by 5. We'll end up with this all over 15. 3 by 3x plus 2x by 5, which is 9x plus 10x all over 15, which is 19x over 15. And then we have some subtractions. So the lowest common denominator of 4 and 6 is not 24. Just be careful. Like I said, I'll talk more about that on Thursday. It's actually 12. So here I'm multiplying by 3. And here I'm multiplying by 2. And common denominator is 12. And we get 3 times x minus x times 2. So 3x minus 2x all over 12, which is 1x, or just x over 12. Question 5, lowest common denominator of 2 and 5, it's 10. So we're going to multiply the top here by 5, bottom by 5, top here by 2, bottom here by 2. So we have 5 times x minus x times 2 all over the common denominator of 10, which is 5x minus 2x over 10, and that is 3x over 10. Question 6, lowest common denominator of 5 and 2 is 10. Multiply the denominator by 2, numerator by 2. Here, numerator by 5, denominator by 5. Lowest common denominator is 10. So we have 2 times 7x minus x times 5. So that is 14x minus 5x all over 10, which gives us 9x over 10. Then we have lowest common denominator of 4 and 5, which is 20. So we'll multiply the denominator by 5, numerator by 5 here, numerator and denominator by 4. Lowest common denominator is 20. We're combining 5 times 3x minus 2x times 4. That's 15x minus 8x all over 20, which gives us 7x over 20. So now we're going to look at just some more fractions. And these are ones that have some algebra in the numerator. So I'm going to give you formally the 4 steps we're going to use. Because what we did yesterday, we were really just, looking at how we would add number fractions or how we subtract number fractions, and then using that same method for algebra fractions. So make sure this gets taken down into your copy. These are the 4 steps that you're required to do as you work through any question. And I talked about them yesterday, but now I'm giving them to you. First thing you do is you identify the lowest common denominator. The second thing you do is you rewrite or update each fraction to have that lowest common denominator. So we're using equivalent fractions. You then want to combine the fractions, so combine it into a single fraction, and then you simplify the numerator. So let's take a look. Okay, so we have 3x minus 4 over 9 plus 4x minus 5 over 3. Step 1, lowest common denominator. So the lowest common denominator of 9 and 3 is actually 9. So 9 doesn't need to be changed. 3, I'm going to multiply it by 3, but the numerator also has to be multiplied by 3. Now remember, order doesn't matter with multiplication, but it's often easier to write the single number first. Common denominator is 9. So we're going to update each fraction to have the lowest common denominator. Done. Now we're going to combine. So we have 3x minus 4 plus. Now I'm going to put my 3 and then 4x minus 5, just because it's easier for multiplication. It does not matter. Remember, multiplication is commutative, order doesn't matter. So now we're going to simplify the numerator. So 3x minus 4 plus 12x minus 15 all over 9. Oh, I dropped my x. And when I tidy that up, I get 15x minus 19 all over 9. And that's my final answer. So now the only difference is we have 2 terms in each of the numerators rather than just that single term we dealt with yesterday. Now we have a subtraction, and this is where these steps become really important, and I'll explain why. So first thing we're going to do, let's find the lowest common denominator of 3 and 5, and that is 15. So here I'm going to multiply the denominator by 5 and the numerator by 5. Here the denominator by 3 and the numerator by 3. And now we have a common denominator of 15, and we have 5 times 2x minus 1. Be careful with your signs, this is a subtraction. Then I have 3 times 4x plus 2. So what will happen in a lot of cases if you don't combine, if you multiply and then combine, is that what I'll see is students will only make the 4x or the 12x, as it will become, negative. That minus has to affect the 4x and the 2, both pieces of the numerator of the second fraction. So by combining it before doing any multiplication or cleanup, it will make sure that you do it correctly. So we have 10x minus 5 minus 12x minus 6. Okay, so if we didn't have our steps, I could nearly guarantee that that minus 6 would end up being a plus 6. So we have minus 2x minus 11 all over 15. So nothing is different. Although this will be a trickier sum and a lot of students will get it wrong, the method we have hasn't changed. We're doing exactly what we were doing when we started with our number fractions yesterday. Nothing is different. So actually having that one method that works all the time just makes your life so much easier. Please make sure you are following those steps. Now, I have given you 3 fractions. Ooh, let's see how we do with this. So the lowest common denominator of 4, 10 and 5. So it's going to be a little bit trickier to go through. So go through what you think. 20 would be our lowest common denominator. So 4 by 5 will give me 20 and 5 in the numerator. 10 by 2 will give me 20 and 2 in the numerator. 5 by 4 will give me 20 and 4 in the numerator. So now I can clearly see that change. It saves me writing out a step. Remember, I'm super lazy. So I've now updated each of my fractions to have the lowest common denominator. That lowest common denominator is 20. I then have 5 times 3x minus 1. Watch your signs. Minus 2 times x. Again, watch your signs. Minus 4 times 4x plus 2. I write that all out. I don't do any part of it in my head until that's combined, and now I do my cleanup. 15x minus 5 minus 2x minus 16x minus 8 all over 20, and that gives us minus 3x minus 13 all over 20. So here are the questions I want you to try for homework. Just be aware the first 3, they all have the same denominator, so I've made it a little bit easier for you. So you'll just need to do what we did at the very start of yesterday's class. If the denominator is the same, simply add the numerators. Remember, that simplifies the sum completely. Just be a little bit careful. 11 perimeter means what length of the outside. So let's see how you can create that expression, that algebra expression, from that little picture there. So we'll go through that at the start of tomorrow's class. We've only about 15 minutes covered in this video, so you'll have loads of time to work through that. And like I said, I'll go through them tomorrow. Any questions? Just let me know.